Hello, guys. Today we'll be having author Lalu Krishnan with us for an interview. Hello, sir.
Hi, Shreya. Can you hear me well?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, hi. How are you?
I'm fine. So, should do you want to wait for some time for others to join while you proceed with the book reading, or do you want me to ask you questions first?
As you wish. I mean, it's your format, so I'm okay either way.
Okay. So I'll ask you a few questions and then we can go for
Sure,
the reading sections.
sure,
So, like your book has recently released and has started getting good reviews. The last time we spoke,
sure.
the reviews weren't in, and now the
Yeah,
reviews are in. So, can you please tell us
right.
about your book?
Sure. Thank you again. And so, The Robo Maker. This is my debut novel. Uh, this is the book for everyone to see. It's my debut
Such a
novel.
pretty cover.
And sorry, what was that?
Such a pretty cover.
Thank you. Yeah, it's very colorful, and thanks to the Book Bakers Agency who has designed this cover. So, yeah, it is the Robo Maker is the story about one amongst us. It is the story of an eternal seeker. Uh, it's the protagonist, Sid or Siddharth. Sid is an entrepreneur who left a cushy job to seek his dreams. Uh, then reality strikes. His entrepreneurial dream leads him into a tottering marriage, financial insecurity, a narrow escape from death, and uh, more than a month in jail, about 34 days in jail. And then all of a sudden, one of his colleagues dies. He obviously is shattered, but then he's a seeker. He seeks answers from his tragic childhood, his murdered trade unionist father, and transforms himself around his father's ideals. This pushes him through a series of uncertain yet intriguing experiences. And the book is all about that. It takes the reader through Sid's journey in seeking his own identity from Siddharth to Sid, back to Siddharth, and back to Sid again. It is the story also about a lot of contrasts. The entrepreneur son of a trade unionist father. It is also the story about the contrast between work and life, and passion and realism, the contrast between the two. And it is also about attaining that sweet balance in this battle of contrasts. And this book is all about attaining that balance, and which is perhaps the most satisfying way to lead life. And that is what this book tries to show.
You cannot bind it in one genre then. It's a mix of genres.
Yeah, it is a mix of genres. Um, what the attempt always has been to tell an honest story. Uh, not so much stick to a particular genre. Uh, as a reader, also, I have no preference for any particular genre. I have been inspired by stories of Roald Dahl, Maupassant. These are honest stories of very ordinary people. So, as a new writer, also, I just wanted to tell an honest story about a set of very ordinary people. Even I write short stories also, and these also cut across a lot of genres. Uh, what I feel is that the life of an ordinary person is not restricted to any particular genre, and therefore, as in life, in my book also, I was unable to kind of restrict myself to any particular genre. So you'll find bits of all, romance, you'll find drama, action, mystery, suspense, all folded into one. Very much like a Bollywood blockbuster, I tell my friends. But yeah, just kidding. But jokes apart, the underlying theme of this book is uh, about love, various shades and nuances of relationships. So if I have to slot it, probably I'll slot it under the genre of romance, although it's not strictly a romance genre book. But yeah, there is a lot of underlying nuances of relationships, a lot of love, extended family, uh, you know, uh, uh, the organization as an extended family, and so on and so forth. So uh, probably romance would be the best fit if I have to kind of put it to a genre. But yes, like you rightly said, I was unable to restrict it to a particular genre.
More what basically it is about Siddharth's journey to find his call, right?
That's right. It's a journey.
It's a
It's a
life
journey of a
journey,
seeker. Yes,
right?
yes, you're right. Yeah.
So moving on to the next question, the robot maker. So why is the title inclined towards technology?
Yeah, yeah. That is uh, a question that sometimes people ask me. In other forums as well. Some of my friends have asked me, about RoboMaker being the title. Uh, the original title of the book was very different. I name the initial title that I had given this book was The Intent Intruder. I mean that kind of uh, aligned to what the aligned to the journey of Sid, the protagonist, how he kind of intrudes into the lives of his colleagues and so on and so forth, which is the underlying theme of the book. However, in one of the discussions with my daughter, she's also a bibliophile. Uh, During a discussion of the book, she opined that this title was a bit dark for what this book ought to be. It was a bit darker than what I should show my readers that it is. So, on giving this some thought, I also felt that she was right. And in the quest for a new title, I tried to narrow down into one that is intriguing, yet aligns to the plot, and yet does not give away too much. So, after a bit of playing with various names, various titles, we settled down into the RoboMaker, and this refers to the protagonist Sid, who runs a company that is into robotic solutions. So that's why the RoboMaker. What we felt finally is that the title is intriguing, it is apt, and yet it does not give away too much. So that's why the RoboMaker.
So the initial title was uh,
The intent intruder. The intent
intent
intruder.
intruder. So what is the meaning of the intent intruder?
So it intrudes. The protagonist kind of intently, very doggedly, very intently, very consciously intrudes into the lives of uh, his colleagues, and that is kind of the
The
underlying
character
theme of the book.
surrounding you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So that's why.
So moving on to the next question, how has Book Bakers helped you in your literary journey?
Sure. It's very simple. Just keeping it very simple. First things first. If not for the book bakers, the it would still the RoboMaker probably would still have been at the manuscript stage. It would have been a manuscript, probably lying in some folder in some obscure corner of my laptop. So definitely, if not for the book bakers, this wouldn't have seen the light of the day. Having said that, I also must say that I had a very enriching experience working with Suhail and the book bakers team through the journey. Uh, Everyone, especially Suhail, has been very approachable and promptly resolved any queries that I had. I had quite a few as a new writer, as a new author. Uh, and the agency has been very approachable and promptly resolved all the queries that I had. The agency also helps to promote their books and their authors through various channels and modes. One of which is the interview that we are having now. Uh, Apart from getting help on the books, these interactions have also helped me understand the craft of writing and the dynamics of the industry a little better. Because I'm part of a group of other book bakers authors, their interactions on WhatsApp group or otherwise. Uh, some of us have now connected with each other on social media. It's very interesting to understand what they are doing, they're reading their work, all of that. So the whole ecosystem has been very, very helpful for me to hone my skills as an author and as a writer also, understanding the craft and understanding the industry, how it works. So definitely, I would recommend the book because for any first-time author like me.
So, after you prepared your draft, how long did it take for you to actually have the paperback book of of the novel?
Yeah, I struggled quite a lot. In fact, I would say that was probably more difficult than writing the book. The writing the book was, if I thought that was difficult, getting it published was a very, very humongous task. So, uh, you know, as a new author, without too much knowledge about the industry, about publishers, the way to get published, and so on and so forth, uh, started approaching publishers through websites, and so on and so forth, till I got in touch with book bakers. So from to answer your question, from the time I finished my final draft to when I got published, it took probably a couple of years.
That's a long time.
Yeah.
So, moving on to the next question, how did you research about the characters of the book, and what came to you first? Did the plot came to you first, or you crafted the characters first? Tell us about that.
Sure, sure. Okay. Uh, so since the plot of the Robomaker was more related to the life of common people in a city setting and so on and so forth. Uh, it was a plot that did not need a lot of research per se while writing or before writing. Like I said, it was based on simple yet honest stories of the average Indian city dweller. Uh, at specific areas while telling the story, I read up information related to those areas. So for example, the jail sequence, what happens in a jail. Fortunately, I haven't been to one, so I had to do some reading on that. Then there was a series of court sequences, sequences, how things happen in courts and the whole system around that. And then, a little bit about startups, especially robotic startups servicing the retail supply chain. Reading up on some stories around that, some news items around that. But those were very light reads. I wouldn't call them, intense research or anything, but very nice, interesting reads that I, applied to my book. So yeah, research wise, this was it, not beyond this. To your question on, what came to me first, the plot or the characters? Of course, there was a loose plot, but I would say that the main plot, and the main characters around which the central plot revolved, that came almost simultaneously, I would say. Uh, but of course, the plot evolved as I wrote. Subplots emerged, which kind of support the main plot and made it more credible. Supported the main plot and made it more credible. Some of the characters evolved. Sub characters came into the picture. In the process, the plot became more relatable, more credible. Uh, uh, you know, Gaps, wherever there were gaps, it got filled by some sub characters or some subplots and so on and so forth. So some portions of the story indirectly draw strands of inspiration from real life as well. So for me, the main inspirations to take the plot forward were reading other work, characters that came along with that reading, experiences and observation of real life incidents around me, and then imagining the what ifs, twisting and molding these experiences and observations into something that could fit into the plot and make it more interesting and interesting to the readers. So that's how I went about developing the plot and the characters.
Right. So you said you read a few things for taking in inspiration. So what were those? Like, were they thriller stories or were they short stories? What kind of research or read did you take in for writing that?
Yeah. I uh, uh, lost you for a few seconds, but I think what you asked is what kind of reading did I do to stitch together my plot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like I mentioned, reading is a parallel habit that I have anyway, and I don't stick to any genres as such. So, uh, as I said, most of the stories I read are short stories, classics, short stories of Roald Dahl, Maupassant. Those are the ones that I enjoy most. Probably because they finish fast and I get to see the result uh, faster than when I read a novel. But yeah, I mean, to answer your question, yeah, I don't restrict to any genre, and the inspiration could be drawn from anything that I read, cutting across genres. You never know when an idea hits. It could be anything. It could even be something that I read in the newspaper, maybe every now and then. That could be molded into something uh, that could be interesting for the reader in the book, and also real life experiences. So uh, 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 real life experiences or some observations in real life. A person uh, arguing with an auto driver, for example, that could be something that may be the genesis of an idea, and we could have that as a subplot or something that could make the story more interesting. Does that make
Uh,
sense? Yeah.
yes, it does. Uh, we have the depth of field guy telling that my favorite thing about this book is it offers an empathetic and non-judgmental lens through which you can see Sid's world and by extension of your own. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot.
So moving on to the next question. Uh, so what are the challenges that you faced while writing this plot?
I think I struggled a little bit with writing and rewriting the drafts. Initially, when I thought, I felt that the first draft would be, like I said, you have that central plot, and when you write, yeah, you write and you complete the first draft. But then when you read it, you don't feel very satisfied. There are some gaps which you want to fill. you don't quite like the flow, and so on and so forth. So I struggled a little bit there in writing and rewriting the drafts. The final draft was, I would say, very different from the first one in terms of sequence and the presentation of the scenes. So very much like film editing, you take it, you take all the scenes first and then stitch it, uh, do a mix and match and make it into a movie. Something like that is what I struggled with a little bit. So, like I said, the final draft was quite different from the first one. So I spent a lot of time trying to attain the most optimum flow at a pace that would sustain the reader's interest. Uh, it that took a lot of time and effort to read, reread, mold the drafts through the permutations and combinations of the scenes, make friends and relatives read it, a little bit, give feedback, and so on and so forth. Then the other thing that I think most writers face is the writer's block. That was the other challenge, and that, like I said, I tried to beat through the combination of reading, observation, experiences. Uh, I also discuss my deadlock. Used to discuss my deadlock with my wife, my daughter, and colleagues, uh, and then keep my eyes and ears open for ideas to break the deadlock. Uh, and it has worked quite often, to break some deadlocks while writing the book. I sometimes leave the piece midway. That's what I sometimes did, and then move on to writing something very different, usually a short story or something like that, for the next few days, and before again coming back to write it with a fresh and open mind. So that was something, a few things that I used to break the writer's block, the deadlock that I faced there. But the biggest challenge that I faced was to find the time to write and make it into a habit, while balancing the priorities of my very high pressure day job, is what I would like to imagine. So that is the balance that I struggled quite a bit with. But like I mentioned, none of these were challenges when it came to finally writing the book and trying to get it published. So that was the biggest challenge that I would say, getting it published. I think that is what most debutant authors also would agree with me. Uh, that's because that's something that I keep hearing. So all said and done, I find myself very fortunate to be in the situation that I'm in.
So, what did your writing schedule look like? Would you write after your high pressure day job, or would you write it in the early mornings before you went for your work?
Yeah. For this book, I think it was mostly in the early mornings, because that was the time when ideas came naturally. You for whatever reason you think I thought better. I got more ideas in the morning, at that point of time. So I used to write for probably an hour or so, hour and a half on working days before getting ready for work and going to work. Uh, but most of my writing happened on the weekends, uh, which is when I used to spend probably 4 5 hours across Saturday and Sunday, both in the mornings as well as late nights before I went to bed. So that was how the schedule looked like while I wrote this book. Nowadays, the uh, uh, after this whole COVID pandemic broke out and we all started working from home, somehow a lot of other things got added into life. A lot of other work, I would say, that took a lot of some of these spare time that I had, with meetings and all of that. So, and the what can I say, uh, the thinning of the line between professional and personal life, that also has somehow taken a backseat. So nowadays, most of this writing I try to do after work. Once I finish work, have dinner, and then write, and then go to bed. So that's how my schedule has changed. But for this book, it was mostly a morning affair.
I'm so happy to hear you're working on something else now, like something more now. What are you writing? Could you brief us a
Yeah,
bit?
sure. Sure. So, like I said, I keep writing short stories, and some of them I posted in a blog called Bohemian Ruminations. So, but as far as the next book is concerned, there are a couple of uh, stories that I'm working on. One is a mystery set in Koni. It's a place in Kerala, and it's inspired by some real life events. Some unnatural deaths that has happened. In a particular, they call it Taravadu. It's a ancestral home. Some uh, unnatural deaths. Which follows a sequence. But it would be inspired by that, but twisted with fiction to suit the plot. That's how I'm imagining it. And the other, uh, you know, plot that I'm working on is a narrative nonfiction about a very important but very sketchily chronicled female warrior queen. So these are the two I'm working on. I'll probably settle down and focus on the first one, and hopefully finish it before the end of the year if everything goes right. Uh, like I said, I'm also working on some short stories. So let's see. I mean, the short stories are mostly to build my credibility, to make readers read my work, and so on and so forth. So probably I will not. I'm not thinking about converting that into a book or something. I'll continue to contribute to that blog, and try and find more readers for my work. That's why I'll keep on writing the short stories. These are the few things that I write these days.
Looking forward to read your next book by the end of this year.
Thank you, Shreya.
So, how has Loxley Hall helped you in your publishing journey?
So definitely, I mean, Loxley Hall has been very easy uh, uh, publisher, is what I would say, because I've heard of publishers being very difficult, asking people to change their work and so on and so forth. But uh, Loxley Hall was very smooth, very unobtrusive that way. So first of all, I would like to thank Loxley Hall Publishing for their trust in accepting my book. They have been very supportive, like I said, and have promptly responded to addressed any queries that I had. Very approachable. They are also helping me promoting the book. So every few days, I can see some posters or something that they put up on social media to promote the book. That has happened ever since the launch. Every at least once or twice a week, they put up something on social media, and which I can also share to my people that I am attached to on social media. And they are also helping, and not only posters, video trailers. They're also planning some virtual launch, and all of that. So all in all, I think a very good publisher. I'm so happy that they have accepted my work, and I hope you know to collaborate with them in the future as well.
I did see the video trailer on your profile. So, was that the first paragraph from your book which you were reading?
Yeah. So there are two trailers. So one Loxley Hall helped me put up, and the one I think that you saw, that is the first few paras, the first few scenes of the
Mhm.
book, and I attempted that, with some music mixing and all of that. So. Thank you. I mean, thanks for
It
bringing
was a
that up.
nice,
Thanks
great
for
attempt.
going through it. Thank you. Yeah.
So now that your book has gotten a lot of positive reviews, how do you feel about it?
Oh, definitely. I mean, when we last spoke, I was saying that I was nervously waiting for the first reviews. Now that, many people have started reading it, a few of them have put their feedback, given feedback informally also. And there are about three or four reviews, 5-star reviews on Amazon. Very, very, very encouraging, very motivating. And uh, what is uh, what is heartening also is the feedback is aligned to what you would like it to be. So the feedback ranged from uh, having the characters that are very relatable. Uh, uh, you know, uh, the uh, uh, the plot being honest, non-judgmental. These are the words that came from different sources. Some others have said that the way the settings are being described and the characters are being described, you can visualize it like a movie, or like a series of scenes or sequences. Yeah, so those are the kinds of things that you also set out. I set out uh, 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 imagining when I imagining as the output when I started writing or when I wrote the book. So when you see that, yeah, some of these things are aligned to what you set out to be, it is heartening. Now, irrespective of the commercial success of the book, when I see readers aligned to what you have set out to do, uh, that makes it very gratifying. That is really some success, I would say, as a writer. So let's see. I hope that more people read it. Even there are a few people who are currently reading it, and midway they have given some feedback that, yeah, and very, very gratifying, very, very gracious feedback, I would say. Very encouraging feedback midway. So I'm hoping more reviews coming up on Amazon in the next few weeks, and that would probably help spread the word a little more, and more readers reading the book.
Right. So that's nice to hear. And I'm sure a lot of people are reading it right now and they'll be putting up the reviews within one more week.
I'm hoping that, because it's just a couple of weeks when people receive the book in their hands. Even every other day, I see messages, and very, very happy to say that, uh, you know, people with photographs of the book saying that, yeah, I got it today. Even today, I got a few messages. So yeah, I'm hoping that in the next 1 or 2 weeks there would be more reviews, more feedback coming my way, which I'm hoping it would be as gracious and as encouraging as the first few that I've received.
So moving on to the next question. If you had to choose one character from your book, who would be the protagonist?
Sure. So, um, like, you know, all my characters are my creation. So it would be, and it has very, very interesting and endearing characters. Even though there is one protagonist and uh, two protagonists, if I would say, that I have to choose from, but there are some other very strong characters that uh, uh, really shape the direction of the main plot as well. But if I have to choose two, I would say I'll narrow down to Shreya and Sid. Those are the main two characters. Uh, but if further I have to choose, I would say it would be Sid, and it would be a very difficult choice. Uh, I'll give Sid the edge because life has not been very easy for him ever since childhood. Uh, Again, he has his own set of vulnerabilities, his shades of gray. Despite all of that, a few characteristics that I admire in him, which perhaps carry him through life, are his resilience. I would say the hatred for the comfort zone and his adaptability. These characters make him a seeker, and it adds color to this otherwise ordinary person. And there is a streak of extraordinariness in all of us, all of us human beings. And this is what Sid has shown through his journey. But again, there cannot be a Sid without a Shreya. Although I would say there can be Shreya without Sid. So, a difficult choice, but I would go with Sid if pushed towards Sid.
Moving on to the next. Okay, so moving on to the next question. If you had one word to describe Sid, what would that be?
One word would be resilient. I mean, pushed to the brink, but yeah, he always comes up very resilient till the end. Yeah.
Can we move on to the reading session? And after that,
Sure.
I'll ask a few more questions.
Sure. So once again, this is my book, RoboMaker. I'll read the first chapter again because that sets the tone for everything that is happening after that. This chapter is called That Night. So I'll start. One warm, wet July night, the sound of two distant gunshots echoed through the cramped neighborhood of Naya Basti. Soon, the familiar buzz of the 10 p.m. shift alarm of Cranes India Limited submerged the sounds of the rain and the sporadic thunder. Besides signaling the shift rotation at the Cranes India factory, the alarm served an unofficial purpose for this Kolkata hamlet. It indicated the start of an hour-long power cut, which topped up the neighborhood's daily quota of 5 hours without power supply. For Siddharth and his mother, the alarm was the trigger to stop everything else and wait with bated breath over the light of a kerosene lamp for his father to return from work. The relief was profound when they heard that knock on their door. A series of light, evenly spaced taps. One tap every second. Tap, tap, tap. That night too, Siddharth dashed towards the door, excited to answer the knock and welcome his father home. His mother was right behind him, lamp in her hand. The knock came later than usual. In their enthusiasm and the noise of the rain, they did not realize that it sounded different. Siddharth did not see his father when he opened the door. Rather, there were several scary, muddled figures with their fuzzy faces and black umbrellas. The power cut had plunged the neighborhood into darkness. There was but a flicker that was dispersed by a distant single bulb lamppost. The flicker and the intermittent flashes of lightning helped Siddharth see through the downpour. He could make out the murky form of a van that stood at the junction a few tens of meters from the doorstep of their single-room rented house. One of these figures, a tall, squint-eyed man with a balding pate, stood near the doorstep. He leaned over to his mother and brought his face close to her ear. Shanti Di. Ashu? Her voice trembled. Siddharth's heart was in his mouth. The lamp had just enough light for him to see his mother's curious eyes and parted lips. He hung on to her arm. She stood rigid and pale. What happened? There was a deafening silence for a few seconds. Ashu lowered his eyes. His lips quivered. Shanti Di, they killed him. His dark, uneven eyes and wet, shiny head reflected the light of the lamp. He howled. The others joined, shouting, crying, and sloganeering. The commotion, combined with the clamor of the rain spattering on their asbestos roof, made for an uneasy, cacophonous mix. Within minutes, the area was thronged by a sea of noisy, prying individuals. Siddharth was aghast. His mother stood stunned. Agape, they watched his father's body wrapped in a white shroud being taken out from the van. It was escorted by a couple of policemen. The pallbearers moved closer to their home. Siddharth watched his father's lifeless head tilted to one side, oscillating through the checkered interplay of torchlight and shadows. The men splashed through the puddles along the way and placed the body on the floor. He touched his father one last time. The body was inert and cold. Through the wet, diaphanous sheets and dressing, he could make out two reddish spots on his father's chest. Befuddled, he looked at his mother, his large, moist eyes full of questions. Ma, his voice cracked. His mother hugged him tight. Be strong, Siddharth. He could feel the wetness of her ears fall on his back. She gave way to him when her eyes met his. She rested his head on her shoulder and closed her eyes. She had to live for him, somehow. How? She did not have an answer to that. That's the first few scenes of the book. You know, this is the crux. He loses his father in the first scene itself, and then you know, it's about how he is influenced by his already dead father. You know, how the father's spirit kind of guides him through his journey that we spoke about.
Thank you so much for reading it for our listeners.
Thank you for your
So that sounded like a thriller, and actually the words you used painted a very clear picture of what the scenery might have looked like, and the scenes looked really
Thank
good.
you. Thank you, Shreya.
So the question for you would be, what do you want the readers to take away from this book?
Yeah. Um, you know, like I said before, the idea was to write a simple, very honest story about a few ordinary people working at overcoming odds through some extraordinary personal traits. Like I said, resilience of Siddharth. Like that, each of them has their own personalities, very extraordinary personal traits that they discover along their journey. They don't have it by default, but they discover it as they go along their journey. So, from that perspective, I wouldn't want readers to take away anything as a moral or anything like that. I just want them to enjoy the book. Like I keep saying, telling my friends, a few hours that they would spend reading it, they should enjoy the book, the Sid's journey, and you know, align themselves to some of their own vulnerability, some aspects of their own journey in life. Other than that, I expect any specific takeaways. They should enjoy the book. They should feel good at the end of it. That's all.
So okay, so that was nice. Like, you know, viewing the story through Siddharth's eyes is your motto, right?
Yes. Viewing it through Siddharth's eyes. Also, you know, do I can I relate it to some aspects of my own life? So yeah, such reflections I think will be there for every reader as they go along. At least that's also based on the feedback that I got in the initial from the initial readers. So I think, you know, that is something that readers could look forward to. I'm sure they will enjoy the book. I mean, because like I said, there's something for everyone. So an average urban reader should enjoy the book, is what I feel. Uh, and they would relate to some aspects of their own life. and at the end of it, if they feel good, if they feel motivated, that would be, I'll be very happy as the writer of this book.
So, where can the readers find more about your book and your writings and short stories? Could you share?
Sure. Thank you. Yeah. So the RoboMaker is currently available on Amazon and Pustak Mandi. Those are the two places where it's currently available. So if you search for the RoboMaker, or if you search for my name, I think you'll get the book in the first few uh, links. And in so as far as my short stories and my other work is concerned, I would really request everyone who's seeing this to take a sneak peek at my work, and hopefully they'll find it some of these stories very interesting. It cuts across genres, like I said, and what you can Google for Lalu Krishnan Bohemian, or simply Lalu Bohemian, and you'll find it in the first few links, some of the stories, and you can click the link and go to the blog. There are at least 12 to 14 stories, and I'm keeping on updating it as I keep writing. So please go through it and appreciate any feedback that will help me improve my writing and uh, uh, you know uh, understand the needs and preferences of my reader base.
Sure. I'll add it in the link below. I'll add the link.
Thank you.
So thank you
Thank
so much for the session. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you, Shreya. Thanks for providing me with this platform. Really appreciate it, and I'm sure I'll I've been able to express myself to a set of readers, and which will help me kind of enhance my reader base through this platform. Thanks so much.
Thank you.